Commander Do-Won Park stood tall in his crisp blue uniform before the massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber. His heart beat steadily despite the weight of representing all of humanity. After 5 years of membership in the Council, Earth had earned respect among the stars. Or so they thought. The chamber doors slid open with a soft hiss. The circular room stretched up hundreds of feet, with seats rising like steps toward the ceiling. Representatives from 200 alien species filled the seats, their quiet whispers echoing in the vast space. Young diplomat Han Ji-Kim walked slightly behind Do-Won. She was new to the council meetings, but something felt wrong today. The alien representatives weren't making eye contact. Some were shifting in their seats. Others were tapping their datapads too quickly. Commander Park, High Counselor Vex's voice boomed across the chamber. The tall, gray-skinned alien stood at the center podium. We have called this emergency session to address a grave threat to galactic peace. Do-Won kept his face neutral, though confusion filled his mind. He hadn't heard of any threats. Earth's intelligence network usually caught wind of such things. Our sensors have detected a dangerous viral outbreak in the Sol system, Vex continued. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence. Something Hanji had learned meant he was stressed. Or lying. With respect, High Counselor, Do-Won spoke clearly. Earth's medical networks have reported no such outbreak. We maintain strict monitoring of all. The virus is undetectable to your current technology, another council member cut in. Representative mocks of the Tilda species stood, their crystalline form catching the light. Our advanced scanning systems discovered it just days ago. Hanji stepped forward, datapad in hand. May we see the scan data? Earth scientists could help. The data is too sensitive, Vex interrupted. We cannot risk the virus spreading through our networks. His top pair of eyes narrowed. We must vote immediately on implementing a quarantine of the Sol system. Do-Won felt his stomach drop. A quarantine would cut Earth off from all galactic trade, travel, and communication. High Counselor, we request time to verify these claims. The economic impact of a quarantine. The vote begins now, Vex announced, ignoring Do-Won's protest. All in favor of implementing an immediate quarantine of Sol system. Lights began flashing across the chamber as representatives voted. Hanji watched in horror as section after section lit up green for approval. She grabbed Do-Won's arm and whispered, "Commander, look at the Artaxian section. They're not even checking their data." This was planned. Do-Won's jaw tightened as he watched the inevitable result appear on the main display, 97% in favor of quarantine. 5 years of diplomatic work, trade relationships, and cultural exchange gone in minutes. The quarantine takes effect immediately, Vex declared. All ships will be recalled from Sol space. Any vessel attempting to break quarantine will be considered a threat to galactic health and dealt with accordingly. As council members began filing out, Hanji caught fragments of whispered conversations in various languages. Her translator picked up words like contained, and finally, and too dangerous. This had nothing to do with a virus. Do-Won turned to leave, his face a mask of diplomatic calm. But Hanji saw his hands were tight fists at his sides. Just before the chamber doors closed behind them, she heard High Counselor Vex say quietly to another member, "The humans were advancing too quickly." This was necessary. Hanji looked at Do-Won. He had heard it too. His dark eyes met hers, and she saw the same thought reflected there. The Galactic Council had just made a terrible mistake. They had no idea what humanity was capable of when backed into a corner. They had just betrayed the wrong species. Lieutenant Ji-Ho Lee stared at his monitoring screen in the dark room of Earth's deep space station. His eyes were tired after 16 hours of work, but he couldn't stop. Something about the Council's quarantine story didn't add up. "Running scan pattern Delta 7 again," he muttered, his fingers flying over the holographic keyboard. The station's powerful sensors swept through space, searching for any sign of the supposed virus. A soft beep made him sit up straight. But it wasn't from his scan, it was from a hidden communication channel he'd set up weeks ago. A message appeared. Found something. Archives, not what they seem. Call when safe. YK. Jiho, check the time. 3 a.m. Earth Standard Time. Perfect. He encrypted the line and initiated the call. Yonwoo Kang's face appeared on his screen, looking as tired as Jiho felt. "You're not going to believe what I found," Yonwoo said quietly. The council archive room was visible behind him, dark except for the glow of ancient data crystals. "The virus story is a lie. I found records dating back 300 years. Jiho leaned closer to his screen. "What kind of records?" "The council has a secret policy. They call it the containment protocol. When a species advances too quickly or shows too much." Yonwoo checked a document. Aggressive potential. They find ways to isolate them. "We're not the first?" Jiho asked. "No, there were others. The Raxians developed faster than light travel too quickly. Their system was quarantined for radiation concerns. The Meridians created an advanced AI. Suddenly their star became unstable. Every time, the council made up a crisis to stop them from growing too powerful." Jiho's hands clenched. "But why? What are they afraid of?" "Change." Yonwoo held up a glowing data crystal. "The current council species have ruled for thousands of years. They don't want anyone threatening their power. And humanity." He shook his head. "We scared them. 5 years in space, and we'd already improved their shield technology, revolutionized their medical scanners." A noise echoed in the archive room. Yonwoo quickly tucked the crystal away. "Someone's coming. I'll send you the proof through our secure channel." "But Jiho." His voice dropped lower. "There's something else. Something worse." "What?" "The quarantined species. They didn't just isolate them. After a few years, when everyone had forgotten about them." Yonwoo's face was grim. "They eliminated them. Made it look like natural disasters." Jiho felt cold. "How long do we have? Based on the records? 2 years at most. But they don't know about the lunar bases or that the connection crackled with interference." "Yonwoo?" Jiho adjusted the signal. "You're breaking up. They're scanning communications. Have to go. Get this to Admiral Choi." "And Jiho?" "Tell them to her." The screen went dark. Jiho sat back, his mind racing. He had to compile this evidence, get it to Earth's leaders. But first, he needed to confirm what his own scans had found earlier. He pulled up the data. The council ships that were supposedly enforcing the quarantine, their weapons weren't configured for defense. They were siege cannons, designed to crack planetary shields. They weren't containing a virus. They were preparing for an invasion. Jiho started typing urgent messages to Earth Command. The council thought they had caged a primitive species. Instead, they had given humanity exactly what it needed: time to prepare and a reason to fight back. Admiral Sun Mi-Choi walked through the hidden shipyards beneath the lunar surface. Her footsteps echoed in the massive cave as she watched thousands of workers build humanity's response to the council's betrayal. The quarantine had been in place for 6 months, but they had been preparing for years. Admiral, Chief Engineer To Young Park called out, waving from beside the newest warship. "The quantum drive tests were successful. Would you like to see?" Sunmi smiled. The council thought Earth was trapped, cut off from the galaxy. They had no idea that humanity had learned from their first contact 5 years ago. They had built these bases from day one, just in case. "Show me," she said, following De Young into the ship. The inside was spotless, with black and silver walls that seemed to drink in the light. They reached the engine room, where a blue crystal pulsed with energy. Normal ships need special paths through space jump gates that the Council controls, Young explained, his eyes bright with pride. But our quantum drive doesn't. It can tear open space anywhere we want. No gates needed. A young technician ran up to them with a tablet. Admiral, the stealth systems are ready on the first 100 ships. The Council's patrol fleet still hasn't detected us. Good. Sunmi looked at the massive screens showing their progress. 500 ships complete. 1,000 more nearly done. Each one stronger than anything the Council had. How are the weapons tests going? Perfect, Young said. The Council thinks their shields are the strongest in the galaxy. But we found a way through them 3 months ago. We just haven't told them yet. They walked to a viewing platform overlooking the main construction area. Huge ships stretched into the distance, their dark metal hulls absorbing the light. Workers swarmed over them like ants, adding armor and weapons. The Council's biggest mistake, Sunmi said quietly, was thinking we only had Earth. They never guessed we had bases on Mars too. And Europa. And Titan. A message flashed on her communicator. It was from Captain Minho Baik, testing the new ships in the asteroid belt. Admiral, all combat drills successful. Crews are ready. We're just waiting for the word. Sunmi thought about the reports from their spies. The Council was planning to solve the human problem in 18 months. They thought that was plenty of time. She turned to Young. How long until the fleet is ready? 6 weeks, he said. Maybe 5 if we push harder. Make it 4, she ordered. I don't want to risk them moving early. Their communicators buzzed again. This time, it was a message from Earth Command. The Council had just destroyed a civilian research ship, claiming it got too close to the quarantine line. Sunmi's face hardened. She looked at the fleet being born in the darkness beneath the moon. Soon the Council would learn what humanity could do. They thought the quarantine would make Earth weak. Instead, it had given them time to build something the galaxy had never seen before. Send word to all bases, she told Young. We're moving up the timeline. The Council thinks they have us in a cage. She watched as testing crews lit up the quantum drives on a row of ships, their blue glow filling the massive cave. It's time to show them that they've actually trapped themselves in here with us. The Council's betrayal had meant to be humanity's end. Instead, it had united Earth like never before. And in the shadows of the solar system, humanity had built not just a fleet, but a warning to the galaxy. Never underestimate humans when their backs are against the wall. Captain Minho Baik stood on the bridge of the prototype warship Defiant, hidden in the dark side of Mars. His ship's new stealth systems kept them invisible to the Council's patrol fleet. Through the main screen, he watched a small research vessel drift near the edge of the quarantine zone. That's my sister's ship, he said quietly. His second-in-command looked up in surprise. She's a scientist. Studies space storms. Her team got permission to check solar readings from just inside the safe zone. The research ship moved slowly, its instruments gathering data. Minho watched as 3 Council ships approached it. Standard procedure was to warn human ships that got close to the line. But something was wrong. The Council ships weren't slowing down. They're charging weapons, his sensor officer reported, fear in her voice. Minho grabbed his communication panel. Research vessel Aurora. This is a warning. Council ships are approaching with hostile intent. Get out of there now. But it was too late. Green beams of energy shot from the Council ships. The small research vessel never had a chance. It broke apart in seconds, scattering into pieces across space. No. Minho slammed his fist on the rail. They were in the approved zone. They had permission. His crew stared at the floating debris in shock. 87 scientists and crew, gone in an instant. The Council ships were already turning away, acting like nothing had happened. Sir, his communication officer said, voice shaking. I'm getting reports. This isn't the first time. 3 other research ships have gone missing in the past week. The Council told Earth they had accidents, but they were murdered. Minho finished. He thought of his sister's smile, her excitement about studying the stars. Send the sensor readings to Earth Command. Every detail. Show them what really happened here. Within hours, the news spread across Earth and its colonies. Families learned the truth about lost loved ones. The Council's lies about accidents and radiation leaks fell apart. In underground bases and hidden shipyards, production went into overdrive. The loss of the Aurora became a rallying cry. Volunteers flooded in to crew the new ships. Earth's governments, for once, spoke with one voice. This would not stand. Minho sat in his quarters later, looking at a photo of his sister. A message flashed on his screen from Admiral Shui. Fleet will be ready in 3 days. The Council crossed a line. Your sister will be avenged. He touched the photo one last time, then headed to the bridge. His crew snapped to attention, their faces showing the same anger and determination he felt. Begin power-up sequence, he ordered. Test all weapons. I want this ship ready to move the instant we get the signal. Through the view screen, he could see the Council patrol ships in the distance. They looked so powerful, so untouchable. They had no idea that humanity's fleet was about to show them what a terrible mistake they had made. Sir, his second-in-command said quietly. When the order comes, what's our target? Minho thought of his sister's ship breaking apart, of all the other innocent lives lost to the Council's fear and cruelty. Everything, he said. We're going to show them exactly what happens when you push humanity too far. In the darkness of space, the Defiant's quantum drive began to hum. Soon, very soon, the Council would learn that their greatest fear had come true. They had created the very enemy they were trying to prevent. The Galactic Council's main chamber was packed for an emergency session. High Counselor Vex stood at his podium, talking about the success of the Earth quarantine. Other Council members nodded, pleased with themselves. None of them noticed when their communication systems went silent. The humans have accepted their place, Vex was saying. Soon we can begin the final phase of... The massive doors slammed open. Commander Du Won Park walked in, wearing a dark military uniform instead of his old diplomatic clothes. The Council members whispered in shock. No human should have been able to reach this planet. Impossible. Vex shouted. The quarantine. The quarantine was a mistake, Du Won said, his voice filling the chamber. But not your biggest one. Suddenly, the giant view screens around the chamber came to life. They showed images that made the Council members freeze in fear. Thousands of warships appearing out of nowhere above every major Council world. Ships unlike anything they had ever seen. How? Vex's 4 eyes were wide with shock. Our sensors cannot detect our quantum drives, Du Won finished, just like they couldn't detect our shipyards, or our bases, or our preparations. More screens lit up, showing the Council's defense fleets. They were surrounded by human ships that seemed to drink in the light, nearly invisible, until they wanted to be seen. We knew from the day we met you that this might happen, Du Won continued. Your fear of change. Your need to control everything. We saw how you treated other species who grew too quickly. He pressed a button. Now the screens showed the Council's secret records, the ones Yon Wu had found. The proof of other civilizations they had destroyed. The Council chamber erupted in shocked voices as their darkest secrets were exposed. You thought Earth was alone, Du Won said. That we only had one world, one fleet. Your sensors showed you what you wanted to see. Admiral Sun Mi Shui's face appeared on the main screen. Behind her, the combined human fleet stretched into the distance. All ships in position, she reported. The Council's defense grid is under our control. Their communications are cut off. We can end this in minutes." Vex stumbled back from his podium. You can't. We are the Galactic Council. We have ruled for thousands of years. And that rule ends today, Do-Won announced. But not the way you ended other species. We're not here for revenge. The chamber doors opened again. Han Ji Kim walked in, carrying data crystals. "We're here to fix what you broke," she said. "To create a real council. One that helps species grow instead of fearing them." The council members watched their screens as human ships easily disabled their defense systems. Everything they had believed about their power, their control, was falling apart. "You have a choice," Do-Won told them. "Work with us to build something better, or be remembered as the council that fell because they feared change too much." Vex looked around the chamber, seeing the fear in his fellow council members' faces. But it was a different fear now. Not of humanity's strength, but of their mercy. Because somehow, that was even more frightening. The humans had not just outsmarted them, they had outgrown them. And now the galaxy would never be the same. Admiral Sun Mai Shui stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching as the Council's military bases surrendered one by one. The massive screen in front of her showed the progress of humanity's carefully planned operation. "Target acquired," reported her weapons officer. "Council Defense Station Alpha is in range." Sun Mi nodded. "Show them our new targeting system." A beam of blue light shot from her ship, hitting the station's shield. Instead of exploding or causing damage, the beam simply made the shield disappear. The station's commanders quickly raised their surrender signals. "Another clean takedown," said Ji Yun-yong, the young tactician who had planned these precision strikes. She marked another target off her list. 23 bases secured. 0 casualties. That was the key to their plan. Any species could destroy. Humanity wanted to show they were different from the Council. They had developed weapons that could disable without killing, technology that could win without destruction. Admiral called her communication officer. "Captain Min-ho Baek reports that the Council's main fleet is cornered near their homeworld. They're asking for terms." On another screen, she watched as the Defiant led a group of stealth ships in surrounding the Council's proud warships. The same ships that had once destroyed innocent research vessels now looked small and weak. "Send them our terms," Sun Mai ordered. "Complete shutdown of weapons. Surrender of all military control centers. And," she smiled slightly, "full access to their technology database." Ji Yun looked up from her station. "The Council Fleet Commander is sending a message. He says they never knew humans could advance so quickly. He's asking how we did it." "Tell him the truth," Sun Mi said. "Tell him that every time they pushed us, we grew stronger. Every threat made us more determined. Their quarantine gave us exactly what we needed: time and motivation." Reports kept coming in from across Council space. Their hidden weapons platforms, their secret bases, their protected shipyards. Humanity found them all. The quantum drives let human ships appear anywhere, and their advanced sensors could see through any stealth system. "Ma'am," Ji Yun called out. "The last holdout, Defense Station Omega, is refusing to surrender. They say they'll self-destruct before submitting to primitive humans." Sun Mi walked to the front of the bridge. Through the view screen, she could see the station, bristling with weapons. Old weapons. Obvious weapons. "Show them primitive," she ordered. 100 human ships appeared around the station, emerging from quantum space like ghosts. Their dark hulls absorbed all scanner signals, making them look like holes in space. Without firing a single shot, they projected an energy field that shut down every system on the station. "They're surrendering," Ji Yun reported, trying not to smile. Their commander sounds confused. "Send in boarding teams," Sun Mi ordered. "And make sure they understand we're not here to destroy them. We're here to show them a better way." She looked at the tactical display showing the entire Council space. In less than 6 hours, humanity had dismantled a military that took thousands of years to build. Not through brute force, but through innovation, precision, and planning. "Send word to Earth," she told her crew. "Phase 1 is complete. Tell Commander Du-1 he can begin the restructuring of the Council." She paused, looking at the surrendered stations and ships. It's time to show the galaxy what cooperation really means. The Council had tried to cage humanity. Instead, they had forced them to become something greater than anyone imagined possible. 1 month after humanity's fleet revealed itself, the Galactic Council chamber looked very different. The tall, imposing walls now had windows, letting in natural light. The raised seats were gone, replaced by a circular arrangement where all representatives sat at the same level. Han-ji Kim stood at the center, looking at faces both familiar and new. Species that the old council had pushed aside or ignored now had seats at the table. Even the air felt different, less tense, more hopeful. "The last of the quarantined species has been freed," she announced. A hologram showed a fleet of human ships helping a long-isolated civilization rebuild their space program. The Raxians send their thanks. Their faster-than-light technology will bring new ideas to our shared knowledge base. From his seat, former High Counselor Vex watched with a mixture of fear and wonder. The humans hadn't punished him or the other council members, as he had expected. Instead, they had given them a choice: help build something better or step aside. Commander Du-1 Park entered the chamber, followed by Yon-Woo Kang. They carried a large data crystal containing the new Galactic Charter. Du-1 placed it in the central reader, and the text appeared in the air for all to see. "The first rule of the new charter is simple," Du-1 said. "No species shall be held back from their natural development. Progress is not a crime. Innovation is not a threat." Yon-Woo stepped forward. "The old council kept secrets. They hoarded knowledge. That ends today." He pressed a button, and the council's entire database began copying itself to public servers. Knowledge should be shared, not controlled. A young Raxian representative raised her hand. "But what if some species use this knowledge for war?" The old council's fear wasn't completely wrong. Han-ji smiled. "That's why we're creating the Galactic Development Board. Every species will have a voice. We'll grow together, guide each other. No more fear, no more secrets." The chamber's screens lit up with images from across the galaxy. Human ships working alongside council vessels to improve trade routes. Earth scientists teaching their technology to other worlds. Former enemies learning to cooperate. Humanity could have taken revenge. Du-1 told the assembly. "We could have become the new rulers, the new dictators. But that would have made us no better than the old council." Admiral Sun Mi-shoi's image appeared on the main screen. Behind her, the combined fleet, human and council ships together, patrolled the galaxy's trade routes. "The fleet now serves all species," she reported. "We protect, we don't control." Han-ji raised her hands. "Let the vote begin. Who supports the new charter?" The chamber filled with green lights as species after species voted yes. Even Vex, after a long moment, pressed his approval button. The charter was accepted unanimously. Later, as representatives mingled and talked freely for the first time in council history, Du-1 found Han-ji looking out one of the new windows. "Was this what you imagined?" he asked. "When you first noticed something wrong in that emergency session?" She shook her head. "I thought we would have to fight harder. I never expected them to accept change so easily. Fear ruled them for so long," Du-1 said. "Maybe they were ready for something different. Something better." Together, they watched the sunset over the council world. The galaxy was entering a new age. Not one of control and fear, but of cooperation and growth. Humanity had not just overcome betrayal, they had turned it into an opportunity to build a better future for everyone.